Good afternoon, guys. I need these, and we are gonna go out to the garden because I found something a couple days ago that I've been waiting to pull up till I can get it on video. Hey, Freya. Come here. Come here. See that guy? And those guys? Oh, and I just saw these. Damn it. These were not here this morning. So although I'm glad I get to show you guys this, this is not ideal. My onions are bolting. For those of you that don't know, bolting means going to flower or going to seed. So onions are biennial crops, and the first year they bulb up into the onion that we eat. The second year they send up their stalk like this with a little circular flower head at the top, and that's where their seeds are. These are doing it in their first year. So this is just a baby seed head, and I'll put a picture up of what a full seed head looks like in an onion. But essentially this was supposed to happen next year if I hadn't harvested the onion bulb this year. Now I had a feeling this was gonna happen. If y'all watched my onion planting video, which I will link, these onions went through a lot of stress when I seeded them. I ended up seeding them way too late for when we're supposed to grow onions in my zone, or in my climate specifically, which is you're supposed to start them in September, October, November, and they overwinter and then they bulb up in the spring. I didn't get mine planted then from seed, so I started the seeds sometime in January and then transplanted them out. And if onions are terribly stressed their first year, they may just send up their seed pods the first year instead of the second, because they would rather reproduce and pull out seeds than put all their energy into a fruit. So that's what my onions are doing, and unfortunately that means these bulbs are not going to be storable. In fact, they might not be edible, but that's what we're gonna check out today. So this big one right here is a violet degalme, and it's a red onion. And it is tiny. Oh no. Look how puny he is. Bummer. So this size is obviously not ideal. And there's not much to eat on here if this is even edible now. But that's because instead of creating a nice big bulb for us to eat, the onion decided that it was time to go to seed, and instead of putting all its energy here, it's putting all of its energy into this little guy, which stinks. But I also thought that that was going to happen. I had assumed it was going to happen. So although it's disappointing, it was kind of expected. So I'm not like terribly disappointed, but with the fact that there are 6 onions that I see going to seed right now, I'm not expecting any of this bed to bulb up very nicely, because they were all seeded at the same time, all put in this bed at the same time with the same conditions. 9. There's a 9th one. So I think my onion crop this year is going to be a bust. Now with these onions going to seed, they're taking a lot of energy from down here and putting it into their flower stalk. So as soon as you see them going to seed, you want to pull them immediately to try and make this tiny little bulb as edible as possible. If I were to let this flower head completely go to seed and do what it's supposed to do, the bulb part of this onion would just be woody and wouldn't taste well and pretty much inedible. So I'm going to pull the rest of these onions that I actually see flower heads on, and we'll see what we have. So I pulled up 11 onions, and at first I was a little excited because they were all violet degami, the red onion type that I was growing. But then I pulled up a white one, which is a Texas early grano, and it worked well for me last year, and it works well in this area. So I thought at first it was just going to be this variety that was going to have trouble, but I think not. So 12 onions in total are bolting right now. I'm sure more will follow. I just don't see any more seed heads. So, meh. Bummer. These are still good. We're gonna go inside and cut into them, see what the inside looks like, and then taste test them, because I love eating onions raw. But I also wanted to go over one more problem that you can commonly have with onions. I don't think any of mine are doing it now except for one, but it will cause bulb loss, no crop in your onions if you see this. So these are the onions that I started from sets that I bought from my local Home Depot, I think, or Lowe's. And although they look bigger than my onions over there, they don't look very good. They're falling over. Their leaves are falling over, and they're a little loose in the base. Now, when an onion grows to maturity and completely bulbs up, it naturally, what's called lodging, is right at the base of the stem, the top will fall over because the bulb is done growing. But if the onion plant lodges early, if the stem softens and falls over early, it cuts off all the nutrients to the bulb, and that bulb is either not going to grow anymore or not grow at all. Now, I don't think this onion plant is lodging. This stem, this base right here, is still pretty thick, but it's also not bulbing up at all or very well. And I've kind of allayed the lodging part by sticking a piece of wood there. Now, funnily enough, I thought that the onions I started from sets were gonna do more poorly than the onions I started from seed. Technically they still have, because my onions I started from seed at least have a little bit of bulb before they went to flower. These have not started bulbing up at all. But we're gonna keep them in the ground, obviously. They are not falling over. And although these greens look a bit weary and ugly, they're still alive, they're still standing up. Oh, see, I've got a little bulb forming right there on this white onion. So most of these are still doing good, and for now are doing better than these that are probably all going to go to seed. Now, I've explained before, onions get their bulb size and nutrients from their leaves. So their leaves grow really tall and big, and then when the bulb starts to form from the onion, all of these nutrients flow down into the bulb to make the bulb nice and big. That's why when the plant falls over early, it cuts off all of the nutrient supply to the bulb, and the bulb isn't going to grow anymore. That is another common problem with onion growing, is that early lodging, and then also early bolting, which is what's happening with the onions I started from seed. But let's go inside and see what these bolted onions look like on the inside and if they're salvageable. I'm not sure they're going to be good for fresh eating. I think I might have caught them early enough that they'll still be good for fresh eating. But even then, they're only going to last about a week. At least they're small enough I can probably go through 11 little tiny onions in a week. But if not, I can easily dry them out and make onion powder, which I'm almost out of anyways. So that's good. Alright, so I just went ahead and washed these onions and cut the tops off and tried to get as much of the root off as possible. They don't look too much different than a normal onion. I think I caught their flower heads early enough that the inside shouldn't look that bad, and I don't think they'll taste bad either. So let's cut them up and see. Ooh, they're a little green. And they smell less oniony and more like plant-like, if that makes any sense. And then you can see the greenness of the inside where the center of this flower stalk was coming up. But I think I caught them early enough, so that's good. Now I could have just let the onions go to seed, but then I wouldn't have gotten any bulbs out of them, and any bulbs I did get wouldn't have tasted very good. I don't really need onion seed, and I don't really want onion seeds from plants that were stressed out and not hardy. These plants were not supposed to go to seed their first year. They're supposed to go to seed their second year. So I don't really want to save the genetics of plants that do that. Although, I mean, in a pinch, if I needed onion seed and I was never going to get onion seed again from any store ever, I suppose I could let a couple go into seed. And I still might do that if it ends up that the whole bed is ruined. Oh, this is making me cry a little. If it ends up that the whole bed is ruined, I might leave 1 or 2 plants in there and save the seed just for, you know, blank and giggles. But for now, I'll just pull up what goes to seed and save what I can. These I can use for fresh eating if they taste good. Otherwise, I do love dehydrating my own onions and making my own onion powder and garlic powder. So that is definitely a viable option. Ooh, my eyes. Doctor, my eyes. Does anyone else listen to classic rock? All right. See, some of these don't look too bad. This one's still white on the inside. This one's pretty green. So we'll see how they taste. That looks pretty normal. That looks like a good onion. Not very oniony. It's no. Definitely not oniony. Tastes very like it just tastes watery, and then a hint of like plant, like soil, or nothing like an onion. That tastes nothing like an onion. Oh no. I don't even think this would make good onion powder. Oh no. Let's try at home. You know, a little bit of the bite, but I don't know if that's just coming up through my eyes and my nose. That one had a little bit of a bite. Okay, so very mild, very watery. Not very oniony. I do like strong onions though, but really it just tastes like almost like a water chestnut, like I'm just eating a crunchy piece of water, or a radish, but a very weak radish. That's what it tastes like. I could absolutely just eat this like an apple. Bummer. Not a total loss. Like I said, I knew this was possibly going to happen because of the way I planted them and the timing and the fact that the plants underwent a lot of stress after planting. But still a bit of a disappointment, although if all of those onion plants bolt, that means I can just pull them out early and plant that bed, replant it with something else sooner than I thought. So there are pluses and minuses here because I have some corn seedlings that really need to go in the ground. So I actually might go back out to the garden and amend the spots I pulled some onions out of and just throw the corn in real quick. Shoot, I haven't hardened them off. But that's about it, folks. I had saved that one bolting plant to show you guys, and then when I went out to the garden this afternoon, there were 12. And those seed heads weren't there this morning. They definitely formed very quickly. So I hope not all of my onions are lost. I hope at least the sets that I transplanted bulb up. That would be nice. And this is still good. I mean, with all of these, I probably have one whole onion to make something out of. I don't know, maybe. And the stalks don't look like they taste very good. I'll try one, because usually with onion stalks and garlic stalks and leek stalks, I will just put them in a crock pot when I make my bone broth for either chicken or beef bones, and it just adds a certain je ne sais quoi to the broth. It's a way of reusing your scraps that you would otherwise not use them. I try not to throw away anything I don't have to here. So I'll probably cut the seed heads off of those onion stalks and then just throw them in a broth. But this is my onion harvest this year, I'm thinking. So I'm glad I get to show you guys. Beware of poorly planted onions. Well, thanks for being here to witness my garden woes. And I'm going to put these in the fridge and figure out what to do with them for dinner. And I will catch you guys on the next one.